Good morning, everyone. It's 9:11. No, it's 11:06. I was just thinking about Breton law, the brehon law, and I was looking through my Facebook posts because I've made a few posts about the law, and the law, the brehon law, the breath, the law, the word, the ruach, the spirit, the breath, the brehon law, or the law of the bar, the level. It all comes back to language, and it comes back to covenant. The word covenant in Hebrew is brit. So the Brit, ish means man. Anybody that's familiar with my posts will know that the word ish in Hebrew means man. Isha means woman, man, woman. So ish and Brit together, Brit-ish, is clearly the covenant of man. And this is what I've been trying to put out for a long time, what I've discovered. The Israel in the Middle East, and the whole story of Greece, Rome, and what have you, did not happen in the Middle East. And that might come as a shock to people, especially if you're living in the Mediterranean. In the Middle East, you think, wait a minute, I'm an ancient Roman, or I'm an ancient Italian, or Rome gave the laws. Well, history has been a lie after a lie after lie after lie. It's not just been a lie, it's been rewritten successfully, at least for 300 years by the Hanoverian dynasties, and more than that. It goes back further, probably to a great catastrophe that we know. What I seem to be finding out is that, there was a catastrophe, a great comet or a flood around about 1506, 1526, which destroyed what we understand as Doggerland, or Dogger Bank, which connected Europe, sandbank, along the east coast of the northeast of Scotland, and it was a land bridge where people lived. So we've been lied to these lands in which we live present day, wherever you are in the world, are very different from what they looked 300-500 years ago. But there was some sort of catastrophe happened which caused a massive flood, and we've been pulling ourselves out of those flood waters ever since. But as I was thinking about brehon law, back to the brehon law, the breath, the law of the ruach, the spirit, the goal, the goth, the ghost, the Holy Ghost, the set apart spirit, the kadosh, the spirit that is set apart. I was thinking about the gale, the wind, the ruach in us, and brehon law especially, and all the language, and Arthur and the Great Bear. And I looked back on some Facebook posts, and it was, I don't know, it was back a while ago, quite a long post, using Hebrew. I posted it yesterday, but I think I posted it 29th of September. So anyway, but right at the very end there, yeah, we've got a screenshot of that, yeah. Right here at the very end, it says, as English, the language, obviously expanded westward in the 13th century and after, Lothian came to include not only the core southeast but also subordinate, the sheriffs of Stirling, Lanark, Dumbarton and even Ayr. When Edward I of England conquered Scotland, he divided it into 4 jurisdictions, of 2 judiciaries each. Scotia, north of the Grampians, very important, north of the Grampians. The Grampians is where, according to Combs Beaumont's book, and the word Scotia. I know there's a lot of people out there saying, "Oh, it's Combs Beaumont." It's not just Combs Beaumont. There's Barry Dunsmore. There's plenty of books. There's lots of historians. There's Michael Zarion. You know, even some of the people are talking about archaic. You know, even archaic. Some of the work at archaic is talking about the stars and the constellations, and it's based over Europe here. But the Grampians, according to Combs Beaumont's book, is Macedonia, Thracia. So the word gram, you know, to weigh, the weighty ones, and Pians is where we get the word Olympians. Well, these are Thracia, the Greek Macedonia. I'm going somewhere with this, but this is just what I was looking at history according to what we are told. Edward I of England, when he conquered Scotland, divided it into 4 jurisdictions, and I thought, wow, that's just exactly the same as Alexander the Great, the Macedonian, and history repeats, I know that. But we have the word Scotia of the Grampians, Scotia south of the Grampians, so Fife and Perth, and then you have Lothian and Galloway. Now the word Grampians, which is the high mountains, all the way up, you know, the northeast of Scotland. And these are the ancient lands of Thracia. You know, I'm sorry to say for those who are living elsewhere, who think they're living in Bulgaria, Thracia, Macedonia. These are all colonies. But the original cradle of civilization, and I'll show by the law and the constellations above, originally was over these lands known as the British Isles. In Scotland is the 4 houses of the estates, the 4 inns. Just now we have 4 inns that rule the law from London, the bar. But originally, when before Edward came up, he kept the 4 jurisdictions. So he kept that, you know. But what I'm going to show is it's actually recorded in the scriptures. The word Lothian is the word Leviathan, and it's all written in the heavens. The beast Leviathan sits off. Actually, I'm in a study just now about the Leviathan. The Lothians and borders, there's borders, yeah. The word borders, what means by borders is boundaries, yeah. So the Lothian and borders, why was it called that? Why has it been changed anyway? But it used to be called the Lothian and borders and various other things. So anywhere south of Edinburgh, you know, just outside Edinburgh, Liberton, beyond Liberton, once you get beyond Liberton, the town of Liberty, Freedom, and I know, you know, Liberty caps and mushrooms and myceliums, but it's all there. Liberty is just on the outskirts south of Edinburgh. It's in Edinburgh, but once you leave there, you end up in the Lothians and borders, the boundary area, and the Cetus, the beast that sits over, is right over most of the Lothian and borders below Edinburgh. And I would say at this point that includes Cetus the beast, the Leviathan, the Lothian, the loath, to hate, you know, to despise. I think it's connected to the Esau again. Jacob I loved, but Esau I hated. To loathe something. The Lothian area is not a bad place, but many of the elite families set up their estates, such as at Trackware House, Nidri, at the Nidri Castle, wherever was that again, next to Peebles, Pennycook is it? Can't remember. These are all the elite families that set up there, and because they're all from the beast families, the Leviathan, which sits as the beast Cephas. There are many beasts. And Galloway today is like Dumfries and Galloway. Dumfries is the word Frisian, the Frisians. I've got a friend on YouTube who's got her own channel, I can't remember her name now, but the Frisian. So the word Dumfries, you know, they're taking the mickey out of us because dumb, and it actually was the word Dan Fries, the Dan or the Din, of the Brehon law. The word den means the judiciary, the judge, the Jew, the one who has the jurisdiction. So Dumfries, the one who dishes out the lawgiver. And Galloway means the gale of way, the soul way. The Solway Firth is south of Galloway. It's that part of Scotland. It's where the soul goes through the tree and comes up into Orion's belt, and it avoids the Lothian, the great beast, which is very interesting because the Lothian is where the rose line rises. Those who rose up, and that's where it crosses through Edinburgh. Now, I'm not saying the rose line is bad in any way, but there is bloodlines tied to the rose line all the way down, and various points on that rose line, the rose line energy line, that passes through the Lothian, through the beasts, or one of the beasts, Cetus. Cetus the beast is a constellation, or an asterism, sorry, that sits off the coast of Edinburgh, and that's the Leviathan, where we get the word Lebanon as well, and that's why it's the heart of mid-Lebanon, the heart chakra, connected to the heart chakra, also connected to Liverpool very much, because it sits on the spine of Malbine. But the rose line is being used by the beast because Cetus is the Leviathan. So if I go back to the division of Alexander's empire after his death, it's the same. After Alexander died, his empire was divided among his four houses, 4 generals. These generals spent 40 years fighting amongst themselves before 3 main dynasties merged. And the Ottomans of Asia and Greece, a region referred to as Macedonia, the Ptolemies in Egypt, which included Cleopatra. Cleopatra's needle is in London because Egypt is London, and Damascus, ancient Damascus, or the ancient Assyrian Osiris Empire. The Greek empires in very north Macedonia, Scotland. The Seleucids, who occupied a stretch of land external from the present-day Syria, Lebanon to Persia. This is Lebanon, or what we understand today as the Lothian. The Seleucids is where we get the word Jew from as well. And the word Alevi is a priest, Alevonon, to the heart. Alevi is a priest who keeps what? The laws close to his heart. The laws of what? The jurisdictions, the Seleucids, the Jews. So this is all what we understand as Mediterranean and Middle Eastern history, relating to Persia, the Far East, Lebanon, Seleucus, Antiochus. All this is just nonsense. The Egyptian portion, it says the Egyptian portion of Alexander's kingdom was ultimately claimed by Ptolemy I of Macedonia. Now I would suggest that of Macedonia, general and friend of Alexander, that's the kingdom in the far north, which we probably know as Malcolm Canmore, or the MacAlpine kingdom. MacAlpine, son of the Albino, but the Peniel, son of the face of El, Kenneth MacAlpine. So the whole history that we see of the division of the land after Alexander's death is deeply tied to the Brehon law and the division. This post was about the law and the Bet Din, the Dan, why the tribe of Dan is missing in the book of Revelation, basically. So the Din, a Judex, a Judasus, Din, a Dan, a judge, a person who judges, the great Brehon. So it was borrowed from the ancient Greek. And I've said, read it again. Yes, it wasn't, it's borrowed from the ancient Greek. Now bear in mind that Greece is not what we have been told. All history has been written for the last 300 plus years, probably since the year 15 something. We do get Lost at Sea in 1666, the QSB Trust. So probably like 100 years after whatever disaster happened, they managed to gather what they could and rearrange the legal system, and not just the legal system, but rewrite history eventually. And this is why we see burning of witches and all that during the 1600s especially, because these weren't witches. A witch means, you know, which way do we go on the tree, the white path, the witch, the Wicca, you know, the white path through the universe, the Milky Way, the Milky, back through the Duat. So they were burning witches. They weren't witches, they were just people who they were teaching folklore, the skies, you know, the skies of our ancestors, the key to, you know, the law, the key to the Ark and the Covenant, which I've made a video about. But I just thought I'd make a quick recording, and I hope it's picked up okay, just about judiciary, the law, brehon law, but especially how it relates to what we understand as a biblical story in the book of Daniel, which is very interesting, because once you realise that it's here in Britain, Ireland, so on, you begin to look at the symbology in the book of Daniel. You've got the beast system with the 4 heads, you know, which is the Crown Corporation, running from the bar in London. So there'll be some more stuff to look at, all very interesting. The divisions of the 4 houses, which still exist today in London, by the way. The bar has 4 inns, each having their own symbol and each having their own secret society. And all the secret societies of the world actually serve the inns of the court, known as Black's Law, or the Temple Bar, the Square Mile in London. So, you know, it's all run from the Ptolemies, the 4 empires. So, I mean, it's telling you here there were 15 Ptolemaic leaders, and they ruled from 332. That's very similar to 322, Skull and Bones, to 30. Anyway, these magical numbers, from Alexandria. Now, Alexandria, I believe, is just beside north of Glasgow. You know, that is Alexandria. And Helensburgh, Helen of Troy, Helensburgh is not that far. Cleopatra was the last of the Ptolemies, but she ruled from Egypt, which of course is the Nile Delta. London, which was underwater. The Nile was flooded, and the ancient gods were washed into the face of the deep again. The beginning of what we understand as the scripture talks about the face of the deep, the pineal, the face, the face. The pineal sits above the face of the deep, the face of the Most High. So there's 2 faces which we play out every year. We come to Janus, the January, the 2 face of the 12 movement and the 13-month cycle of the moon. So we have, you know, that's been played out over us by a calendar, which of course comes from the Merlin or Greenwich Mean Time. So yeah, an interesting thought. All goes back to brehon law, the brecheth, the ruach, the wind, the gale, the spirit, which all maps out over the territory we know as the UK. And you know, yeah, good fun.